I am the Namer, guardian of the names of power. Before your world even existed, my people were an ancient race. Now they are gone, and only I remain, keeper of my people's history. Across the endless tracts of space have I traveled, to return to the planet of my birth, Zoidstar. Though my people perished long ago, and their cities were buried by the shifting sands, the machines remain. It is these that have brought me here to perform the last act of the Zoidarian race, the giving of the names of power. When my race was young and had an interest in the affairs of the galaxy, they built the machines, mighty engines of destruction which gave the power of life and death over the other creatures in the galaxy. The Zoidarians turned their gaze outward and laid waste to 1,000 star systems with their machines, their Zoids. But ruling a galaxy was not enough for the Zoidarians. It was not the conquests, but the battles they enjoyed. And though all intelligent life trembled in the shadow of the Zoids, my people battled on, machine against machine, Zoidarian against Zoidarian, in the further pursuit of glory. Zoidarian lives were needlessly sacrificed to the god of battle, and the race dwindled in numbers until the elders outlawed the Zoid duels. But they couldn't outlaw the Zoidarian love of combat. The Zoidarian pilots of the giant war machines were replaced by androids, and thus the heroic combat could continue without threat to Zoidarian life. Too late came the order. Too late to save a once mighty race from extinction, and now only I remain. Only I and the Zoids. And though my people created the Zoids, I have no power to control them. For the war machines have become the living embodiment of the Zoidarian thirst for combat, with lives and wills of their own. They exist only to fight, to ensure that their heroic combat lasts for all eternity. Now I stand on the sand-blasted surface of a world I used to call home, high on a rock, scanning the horizon for some sign of movement, knowing that out there, behind the sand clouds, lurk the deadliest war machines in the universe. It begins!
Goes on. Hope for Helic peace with Gallows forgone. We reach the devil's maze and must push in to deploy the Kingligers to probe within. Flying red, white, and gold Kingligers rule. Metallic liger war machine terror jewel with golden eyes and flashing chrome weapons. Devil's maze, Gallows interior beckons. Kingliger, he's the maze and do not fail. Kingliger, King fangs make your foes wail. Kingliger, leap from rock to stone and shale. Kingliger, cold tiger must not prevail. As Kingligers push deep, we face new foes. Gylo's armies, new Zoids, the power grows. Over cybernetic dogs in black. And gold tigers, metal tigers, Zoids attack. Fire your mega Vulcan guns, Kingligers. Get close with laser blades to rend gold tigers. Move with speed through the stony maze to fight. Clash with seat over to show Helic might. Kingliger, seize the maze and do not fail. Kingliger, with King fangs make your foes wail. Kingliger, leap from rock to stone and shale. Kingliger, cold tiger must not prevail. As Kingligers serve us well, but we must improve. Kingliger, seize the maze and do not fail. Kingliger, with King Fangs make your foes wail. Kingliger, leap from rock to stone and shale. Kingliger, Gold Tiger must not prevail. Of the mythic past rise from the sand. Monster machines long forgotten and grand. Zoidstar power overwhelming they rise to see planet Zoidstar with cold steel eyes. A war-torn world in great ruin and waste. For this dead husk planet they have no taste. So now the ancient Zoids arise to call. Among them is King Tiger, crushed Zoid skull. King Tiger, merciless monster machine. King Tiger, the legendary Zoid king. King Tiger, mythical roars pierce the air. King Tiger, the modern Zoid will he spare. Now the ancient Zoids see those they must blame for destroying planet Zoidstar for shame. Blue Guardians and red mutants now fight. It is they, the ancient Zoids, will now smite. Without mercy, King Tiger seeks his prey. Blue and red Zoids, all whom he must slay. But with two there are renegade Zoids to purge. Righteous indignation, King Tiger's urge. King Tiger, merciless monster machine. King Tiger, the legendary Zoid king. King Tiger, mythical roars pierce the air. The Zoid slaughter now starts. King Tiger tears all he finds into box. Red, blue, or renegade, he does not care. All must pay the price, fight back if you dare. King Tiger, merciless monster machine. King Tiger, the legendary Zoid king. King Tiger, mythical roars pierce the air. King Tiger, the modern Zoid will he spare. King Tiger, merciless monster machine. King Tiger, the legendary Zoid king. King Tiger, mythical roars pierce the air. King Tiger, the modern Zoid will he spare.
It is the never-ending battle between red and blue Zoids. It has been waged for centuries. It rages still, with no end in sight.
I, the Namer, last of the Zoidarians, guardian of the names of power, keeper of the legend of heroic combat, have spoken.